Welcome on in, everybody, to another exciting episode of DBacks Dispatch, where the trio is finally all together once again. I know it's been a minute since we've seen you guys, so we appreciate all of you guys tuning on in, whether you're here in the live, which if you are, let us know, or if you're listening to us wherever you find your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or any other site. Maybe you're listening to the YouTube replay. We appreciate you guys and your support as always. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube side. Leave us a rating on whatever, again, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Leave us a rating, whether you feel like we're a 1-star group or a 5-star group. Let us know. Make sure you guys also follow us on all socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, especially I know in the off season right now with things kind of officially beginning, which we'll talk about how the season officially ended here in just a few minutes. But with the off season officially beginning, getting some more news, it'll be the best place to kind of follow along with us. You can see our reactions and whatnot, and see some of the funny memes that Josh or that Brandon and Gabe usually put out and whatnot. But make sure you guys follow us on all socials. Also, join our Discord. It is free. It should be in the pinned description on here, our pinned tweet on Twitter, everything like that. So check the description. It is free. Join the Discord. Like I said, especially with the off season, we're trying to get you guys more involved, get you viewer questions and whatnot. So make sure you guys are in there. Then also make sure you guys go on over to azsnakepit.com. Check out the great content, especially Jim, the head over there at Snakepit, did put out an article yesterday. Kind of about the way the season ended with the Dodgers winning it, what it kind of means for baseball going forward, which I thought was a great read. And I think a frustration that a lot of us have together. So make sure you guys check that out, along with all the other great content over there. Especially our man Josh does put out some written content of our shows here. So if you want a little bit more dispatch in your life, make sure you guys go on over to there. But before we dive on, Gabe, how was your trip? Welcome back. What was your favorite part about you went to Germany, right?
Yeah, I went to Germany, Austria, and Italy, specifically the Alps section, because there's a certain section where Italy and Austria are basically the same country, so everything is split in German and Italian, which is really cool. But I guess my favorite thing, Nuremberg was really cool because I'm a huge history buff, so seeing like all the the World War II grounds, the Mustache Man, his old stomping grounds where they had the rallies and everything was fascinating. Like the what is it called, the documentation center that's there, that's really really cool. Like the whole grounds, it's really really fascinating, and the food was amazing. Like I don't know what it is. German food is elite. I like it better than Italian food, honestly. Um, so like if anybody wants recommendations for like good food in Europe, it's definitely Germany, and it's not England because that's probably the worst food I've ever had. But yeah, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say I'm happy to be back home, but I guess I'm a little happy to be back home.
Yeah, say England pillaged all those countries for spices, and they decided to use none of them.
Yeah, garbage fish and chips. Pizza's
Yes,
fish and chips is better here.
so there's places in Arizona that make better fish and chips than places in England, from what I've heard at least. But glad to have you back in here. Glad to have the full trio here, all together again, as our one of our actual favorite Dodger fans. I know don't have too many, but Shug is actually a genuine good person. Does just root for the boys in blue, unfortunately. So, but Shug, great time because we're actually about to dive into it. But appreciate you topping in here, and also Macy saying all the good news about the Dodgers, maybe a salary cap. I know the players don't want it, and we're actually going to be kind of discussing that a little bit. But we wanted to at least begin things off here. Obviously, the series and the season officially ended yesterday. The World Series went a full 7 for the first time, I believe, in 7-8 years. I think the first time since the 2019 season where the Nationals won over the Astros. It was a pretty exciting series all in all. Obviously, the Dodgers unfortunately did defeat the Blue Jays in 7 games. There's some back and forth there, a couple blowouts here and there. 2 different extra inning games, which just makes me realize, man, I hate the ghost runner rule, and it robs us of actual really good extra inning baseball. But speaking of extra innings, obviously in Game 7 here, going into it, the Blue Jays had a 3-2 series lead going into Toronto, and they couldn't get the job done. Obviously, Yamamoto and the rest of that Dodgers $1.2 billion starting pitching / bullpen kind of shut them down the rest of the way. But Yamamoto was insane, won the league MVP or World Series MVP. Miguel Rojas, of all people, kind of broke a lot of Blue Jays fans' hearts and kind of got the Dodgers devil magic still going there with a one-out home run in the ninth inning. Where I know Otani was on deck, so Hoffman was probably just trying not to leave anybody on base, but gave a slider just right down the dick of the plate, and Miguel Rojas hit it out to tie the game. Blue Jays did have a shot in extra innings there. After throwing 96 pitches in Game 6, Yamamoto came out and didn't look the sharpest in extra innings. The Blue Jays got the bases loaded with only one out, but they failed to score a run, especially with the IKF having some questionable decisions on the base paths by not sliding on a force out of home, or by sliding on a force out of home and not running all the way through, which could have been the difference in the Blue Jays celebrating and the Blue Jays having heartbreak. But they also did have some base running issues and some unluckiness in Game 6 with Barger hitting a ball that kind of got lodged in the wall. Runners on second and third with no outs, and then the very next three pitches, the game was over without scoring a single run. So the Blue Jays kind of shot themselves in the foot the entire series. Looked like I was watching some D-backs baseball, with the unsituational hitting, where they just would leave so many runners on bases and just couldn't get the big hit when it really mattered. But speaking of a big hit when it really mattered, Will Smith hit a go-ahead home run in the 11th inning there in Game 7. This was the sixth straight season in which a player named Will Smith has won a World Series ring. 3 of them have been the catcher, 3 of them have been the reliever. And then the Dodgers had, like I said earlier, $1.2 billion worth of starting pitchers pitch in Game 7 here. Obviously, you had Otani start the game. Glasnow came in, Blake Snell came in, and then Yamamoto. So $1.2 billion worth of pitching. They didn't even use their bullpen that they overspent a lot of money on with Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates and all those other guys. I know Robleski was, I think, the only non-starter that came in there, but kind of looking at the whole series, obviously, I know we all wanted, or at least I say that as D-backs fans, we all wanted the Dodgers to lose. I will never root for any divisional opponents who ever win anything. Call me a hater, I don't care, but all things considered, was this one of the best series that we've seen in a while? I know the last couple of ones, including the one that we were in 2023, were all very lopsided results. Last year the Dodgers winning it in 5, the year before the Rangers winning it in 5. What are your thoughts on the series as a whole, and was this, like I said, one of the best ones that we've seen in a good while?
Not for me, just because the Dodgers as a team batted 202, I think, for the entire World Series. That's just not fun baseball at all. Like, I know the pitching, can be fun, but once you have a parade of relievers, it's not fun for me at all. Like, if it's obviously Yamamoto tearing through guys, or if Gosman was tearing through guys, that's one thing. But when you just have this parade of relievers coming out there, just one inning, or like, getting those three batters, and there's another guy, it's another guy, it's another guy, and both teams just can't score. I don't find it that interesting. I actually find it kind of boring. Like, it gets interesting once it's like, bases loaded and somebody has to come in. So it's like, eventually those innings do get exciting. For the most part, it's really not that fun for me to watch, like I said, at least parade of relievers, which is why I was someone who was in favor of the 3 batter minimum rule, specifically because of people like Dave Roberts, who would be one guy to face one guy and one guy to face the other guy, and it would be like 3 or 4 pitchers in one inning, and it's just ridiculous amount of time wasting in that case. And the Blue Jays, they just like completely crapped the bed. Like, I know the Dodgers won and they spent all this money, but overall, I just think the Blue Jays just completely choked. Like, they either had the lead yesterday, and also the base running mistake. Like, they were one of the best and most sound teams. Like, on the base pass, the situational hitting and everything. They were playing like the Diamondbacks did in 23, which is a lot of singles and doubles. Like, they're burning the bases really well, and they just completely threw out the door in this World Series. And then especially the last 2 games where situational hitting was non-existent. They weren't scoring. They weren't hitting a home run, and also they just were running the bases terribly. We saw with the double play, and even in yesterday's game as well. I believe it was a 3-2 count, 1 out, and then it was either a called strike or a swinging strike, and then they got the runner, like, he was halfway to the bag, like he was jogging there for some reason. Like, just way too many outs on the bases that shouldn't have been made. And yeah, like I said, I don't know what happened there. Like, doesn't make sense to me why they just completely collapsed mentally. Maybe the pressure got to him or whatever it was. Yesterday, even with the IKF, he was like 2 feet away from the bag when they hit the ball. I'm like, that's when you should be halfway down the line by the time the ball makes contact with the bat. But he was attached to the bag basically, and like William Harold is saying, like you don't slide on a force out. You don't need to. The point of sliding is so you can avoid a tag. And if you slide in head first. In this case, since it's a running play, like like they've done so many studies about it. If you slide, it slows you down so much more than it would if you're just running at full speed, which is why now a lot of runners they run straight through second base when they know there's going to be a double play because it gives you a better chance to either make it to second or disrupt them just enough that you're able to get to first. But just absolutely terrible situation of hitting from the Blue Jays, and as we're going to discuss, this could be a huge problem after next season. You're muted.
Thank you. Yes, I am a little sniffly tonight because a bunch of yard work got my asthma and allergies acting up. But yes, I think you bring up a great point with like the parallels between this Blue Jays team and the D-backs, which I think the Blue Jays have a little bit more slug. Obviously, they Vladdy Jr. one of the best postseasons we've seen in a long while. Just throughout from the DS, the CS to the MV or to the World Series, just played really well. They got some pop in that lineup, a little bit more than the 23 D-backs, but I do agree they were one of the more well sound and just built teams. On the
Yeah,
fundamental
just like
side.
the fundamental side. That's the main thing I wanted to highlight. Just that they played so well fundamentally into these last two games.
Yeah, they literally just I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. They just let the pressure get to them. And again, the Dodgers are a great team, especially even Yamamoto. I know Macy's saying I'm more impressed with Yamamoto, but was annoyed less. RJ Praise is the best pitcher in the World Series. I'm biased on that front point, which I agree. I would usually give the crown of the best, not even just to Mad Bum, but the best World Series pitching performance ever, or would go to Mad Bum. But now you might need to go to Yamamoto. I mean, 3-0 in the World Series,
Our
just a
boy.
few less.
Our
Arizona
boy,
Snakes.
Arizona
I would love
Snakes.
that. I would love that if that's the case there. But I don't know. It's gonna need to have some crazy devil magic if that's gonna be the case. But Brandon, what are your thoughts on the whole series? How it played out? Obviously, I know for my personal favorite. Just I mean, not even just the 18 innings, but I like how Otani had the 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and the Blue Jays were like, "We're not fucking pitching to you anymore, dude. Here's 5 walks the rest of the night." Which is just crazy to see. Honestly, that was one of the better extra inning games we've seen in a long time. But what are your thoughts on these series in general? And do you think that this is one of the better World Series that we've seen in a good while?
It definitely is. It's better than the last two. Like, no offense to us, but we really weren't competitive in that. It was. I truly thought after seeing what the Dodgers pitching did to the Phillies and Brewers, I thought their starting pitching was going to completely shut down the Blue Jays, and we were in for a gentleman's sweep. I really thought that it was going to be Dodgers in 5 again. I'm like, oh great, this is going to be so much fun. I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad I won 7. And I know you guys were saying like it's a D-backs thing to do, of just being not fundamentally sound. I think it's the way the game, like just swinging for the fences, launch angle. I think everyone's trying to be the hero. Everyone's trying to get that big hit, and I think that's because I watch other teams. I see the same issues that I see with the D-backs with when it comes to situational hitting. I think a lot of teams struggle with it. They just forget how to just put the bat on the ball. You don't need to swing hard. So, but if I'm a Blue Jays fan, Miguel Rojas is a swear word. That is profanity in that fan base. Like, the dude wears number 72. How much does that hurt? That a guy wearing 72 on the back of his jersey ties the game in the bottom of the 9th.
Especially a guy not known for hitting well. He's literally their 9-hole hitter.
Like, he made a fantastic play on Saturday. No, sorry, Friday on that double play to end the game. That was, but Barger, you cannot, one of my friends was talking, maybe they had a contact play on. You don't have a contact play on when there's a guy on second. So he should have froze on that line drive. You can't end the game. You can't end the game. And Shug, I was actually hoping for this in the last inning. I wanted Kershaw to come in because we know how Kershaw pitches in the postseason. And I wanted him to give it up. Like, he was the reason.
There's
they're
only
gonna
2
lose.
real rings he had no participation in.
But it doesn't matter because he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, without a doubt. But no, I thought overall this series was really, really good. Like, I mean, I casually watched most of the games. The only game that I like was actually invested in was Game 7 because two best words in sports, Game 7, without a doubt, in my opinion. Like, Game 7 for any sport for the playoffs is absolutely amazing to watch. So it sucks for the Blue Jays. And I said this to one of my friends. I'm not going to root for the Dodgers to win the World Series, but if they do, I'll be happy for you. And that's what I told Cruz.
Yeah, I've got a couple of some friends that are Dodger fans, especially some coworkers, and I congratulated them. I'm like, I know it's more of a Dodger fans online and the shitty ones we see at Arizona, but you know every fan base has shitty fans. Every fan base has toxic. I mean, our worst fan online is Goldschmidt happens, and like not every fan is like him. So I know not every fan is like the annoying ones we see. So there are some genuine good ones out there. Obviously, like our boy Shogun here, some other ones. So obviously, tip the cap to the Dodgers. They are just a well-run organization, and kind of leading into the next topic here is they are a well-run organization. They do play well, but not every team can spend the kind of money they can the way they can, and I'm fucking tired of baseball fans online saying that every team has the opportunity to do this. Every team, every owner can stop crying poor, and they can just they can give all this money out. No, they can't. The Freddie Freeman, anyone could have paid Freddie Freeman. It was gonna be the Dodgers or the Braves. Okay, cool. Somebody could pay Freddie Freeman that kind of money. They can't do the same thing with Ohtani. They can't do the same thing with Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow and Yamamoto. Like we all knew Roki Sasaki was going to either LA or San Diego, and obviously no surprise he went to LA.
I mean, he said Toronto he was in the running, but I think that's just because they were playing.
It's one of those where, again, if you want to get flown around the country and especially places you might not have ever been to, easy way to do it is like, oh yeah, I'll come. You guys want to fly me out, treat me well, treat me to a nice dinner, give me some free gifts. I'll do it, yeah. But like my mind's already been made up, and that's the thing that just personally annoys me is not everybody is owned by fucking Guggenheim, which I know assets is not just liquid money, but $300+ billion in assets. I think Ken Kendrick would shit himself. He only has like maybe 50 million in assets in just his like card company or card
They have
collection.
the best TV deal in sports. I think that's what most people don't realize, how much revenue they get from their TV deal.
Oh yeah, like their TV deal alone. I mean, obviously the Ohtani contract, that's a little bit different because everyone knew that whoever signed him, they would basically be making up their money in just endorsements and like merch, because even fans that aren't Dodger fans are probably going to buy an Ohtani jersey and all that. But not everyone can spend the way the Dodgers can, and I think it's going to be especially with the fact that there's a lot of reports that they could go after Kyle Tucker this season, and add another $400 or $500 million contract to their payroll, and they'll just, who cares, because like again they're going to make all their money. But I know there's been a lot of talk online, especially after the Dodgers winning, even in our Discord, someone was saying that this is the better outcome for baseball in its future, just because this could potentially mean that, I know Gabe has even talked about it kind of going throughout the season about 2027 having some kind of lockout. I do believe that this will lead to a salary floor and a cap. You can't have one or the other. I think you got to have both of them. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if it happens. I mean, every other sport can have it. Do a salary cap and floor with some revenue sharing. And I think it will make the cheap teams that cry poor, like the Marlins and the A's and the Twins,
Pirates.
things like that, where Pirates, like where they actually got to spend some money. The Dodgers probably going for Murakami too. Like it's just ridiculous. It's going to be an embarrassment of riches where you're gonna have to see some of these teams spend some more money, but it's gonna keep things like happening what the Dodgers are doing, where again like everybody could theoretically spend this much money, but no other team could do it without having to really fear about the repercussions. Like I mean the DBacks, we did it when we won our 0-1 World Series. Not saying like deferrals aren't like possible, but the reason why we couldn't keep Randy, the reason why we couldn't sign anybody big until basically Ken started doing it after the 2023 season is because it took that long to pay out the deferrals. Not every owner and not everybody can handle that down the line when it comes time to pay it, where the Dodgers just can, because again, there's
I mean, we saw a quote unquote small market team try to do that in the Padres. They try to spend more than what they were earning, and that's why they had to train Juan Soto because the league was basically telling them, "Hey, you can't afford these contracts anymore. You have to pay these out, and we're looking at the revenue you're making and what you're spending. You're not going to be able to, realistically pay because they get loans out from banks and." You have to be able to show the bank like, all right, so this is how much I make and this is how much we're going to pay, blah blah blah. They didn't have the money to pay everybody, and so the league was worried about that, so they forced the Juan Soto trade. Like, they're not going to say it was forced, but that's what happened. Like, the Juan Soto was forced out of San Diego because the league told San Diego you can't afford him. It wasn't said that San Diego wasn't willing to pay him, but the league was telling them that. So anyone who says, like, I know you're mentioning right now, like Otani's contract, Yamamoto, Glass now. I mean, this is coming from even baseball reporters. They'll just say, like, well, your team could have done this, your team could have done that. I'm like, okay, sure. Every team theoretically could have signed Freddie Freeman. Every team could have signed Otani, but not every team could have signed all these guys.
Yeah, the
That's the
Phillies offered
difference.
more money for Yamamoto, and he turned him down. Like, the
Yeah.
money's not the issue. Like, it's just
And most of these teams can't afford $1.2 billion worth of pitchers. That's liquid assets. Ken Kendrick is worth a little over $1 billion. That's not liquid assets that he has. He would have to pay, he probably wouldn't even, I mean, he would break even eventually, obviously, because of the way things are, but you basically would ask him to commit his entire net worth to 3 guys. No one's going to do that except a team like the Dodgers, who are worth well over $350 billion.
That's
there's some
B,
other
guys.
there's some other
That's
teams
that
like
B
Guggenheim.
with-
Like the Red Sox, I know they have some more money, and
the Mets,
I mean,
Yankees.
I
They
think
probably could too.
yeah, we'll get to it, but there's a lot of teams that are worth more in terms of money wise. Obviously, like there's the big teams, but no one has the money that the Dodgers have.
Fully agree. Fully agree. It's one of those where, you know, again, the Dodgers, they are a well-run organization, but outside of that, they also do borderline have a cheat code, like Abe mentioned, with their TV deal and all that. But with,
Oh
obviously the
yeah, sorry.
Dodgers,
I looked it up really quick. The TV deal is worth 25 billion, I believe,
yeah,
and
they make like 300 million
before
a year.
yeah, before a single pitch is thrown, they make about 350 million, which is about their opening day salary. So before they even throw a single pitch, that their entire salary is already paid off.
Exactly. And like no other team's gonna get a TV deal like that. Like again, I know it's I know Shogun and a lot of other Dodger fans are like, oh, like boohoo, who cares? But again, there is, especially in sports, you got to look a little bit more. You want to keep these teams fair because that's why it's keeping these owners from spending money. They're like, well, what's the point? Like, what's the point? I spend all this money and then like nothing comes of it because like, we're not going to compete at the same level that these teams like the Dodgers and whatnot can. But I guess my question to you guys kind of like skip to the whole point of the question here. And what the baseball world has been talking about is one, is a lockout inevitable? Is it basically like, I know we might not lose a full season, but do you think it's going to be kind of like what we saw a couple years ago where we do see, maybe some spring training and regular season games pushed back a little bit to where we're not going to be on full schedule, where we go well through, January without a collective bargaining agreement signed and dealt with. So do you think we're getting some kind of lockout? Do you think that's inevitable? And then do you think that a salary cap and floor, because again, you can't have one without the other. You got to have both, especially with the MLB Players Union being one of the best player friendly unions there is in all sports. Do you think that's the best solution to baseball's problem? And then also, I know Gabe, you kind of talked about in our group chat. Do you think there's an additional thing they could throw in there for the CBA that's not just the salary cap and the salary floor? So what are your thoughts on this, Brandon? Because I know you've been kind of chilling there. I want to send it to you first and just get your thoughts on all the whole lockout, cap, CBA talk that we're going to be especially dealing with after the 2026 World Series.
The issue is players don't want a cap, owners don't want a floor. They are so far apart that I think we missed an entire season. I think the 2027 season is gone completely. I don't think we play a single game in 2027. Unless for some reason they start making progress for the CBA, because it does expire December of 2026. I don't see it happening. I just don't see them coming to terms, coming to some sort of agreement to work things out, because they like both sides don't want the like owners want a cap, players don't. Players want a floor, fans want a floor, owners don't. Like, I know everyone's like, "Oh, they're all billionaires." There's a difference between 10 billion and 300 billion. That's a lot of difference. So, like, everyone that's saying that, "Oh, they're all billionaires, like they can afford it." It's not all billionaires are made the same. They're not all worth the same. That's just my take on it. Like, I know, and it's easy to say that. Like, there's probably about 5 teams that could have done what the Dodgers do: Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies, and Mets. Probably that's probably the 5. Everybody else is just probably not. It's such a big risk, because what if it happens with, like Gabe said, like what happened with the Padres, where the league's like, yeah, you gotta stop. You can't do this. And I think that's what would have happened if Aaron Judge decided to actually sign with San Diego instead of re-signing with the Yankees. I think MLB would have stepped in and said, actually, no, you can't, because it wasn't just the money, it's they spread it out over 15 years. It was about the same amount that he was getting from the Yankees, but it was over 15 years. So we'll see if we have a season in 27. My expectation is that we don't have one at all.
Yes, I mean, I definitely could see the possibility of it, especially, you kind of put it perfectly there. Players don't want a cap, owners don't want a floor, fans, it seems like there's, maybe not a 50-50 split, whatever it is, it seems like there's fans on both sides where they're like, oh, a floor isn't necessarily or necessary, or a cap isn't necessary, but literally every other sport makes a cap work. It literally leads to more fairness. It makes it to where it's a little bit more balanced in the league, and there's more revenue sharing. I know other leagues have it to where then these owners are. I think that's going to be the incentive. Is it keeps these owners. Hey, you're not just going to be forced to spend money for no reason. Like, you're guaranteed. Like, I know there's some kind of revenue sharing now, especially with like the playoff revenue sharing. But this is one of those where it's maybe bump up the numbers a little bit to where it's like, hey, no matter what, you're still getting money back. If you spend at least money, I mean, like, look at the DBacks, what we saw. Like, I know we didn't make the playoffs last 2 years, but when Kendrick puts money in the team, when they actually put money in the team, it gets fans excited. We want to go to the ballpark. I'll spend my money on concessions there. I'll spend my money on a jersey, some merch, some hats and stuff like that. I'll actually put my own money going towards a team, and I think owners will see that more, and you don't have to worry about the Marlins, having 10,000 fans in a game, or the Pirates like always begging for Bob Nutting to sell the team. Like, you don't have to see that as much. So I think there's definitely a middle ground, but I kind of agree with you, Brandon. I think they're a little bit further away than even what we think they are currently. So maybe we don't get a full season, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do miss some actual regular season games, and they do got to cut it down. Not going to be a Mickey Mouse 60-game season that, it's the toughest to play in. No, we're not getting that. But I do think that we'll at least miss some time. But Gabe, passing it on to you. Do you A, think a lockout is inevitable? B, do you think that a salary cap and salary floor could be the solution to, baseball's problems with the haves and the have-nots? And then C, you kind of brought up a group chat. Do you think there's something else they could throw in the next CBA that's outside of just a salary cap and a salary floor?
So yes, I do think the a strike or a stoppage is coming, but I don't think it's so much about. I think it is going to be about the salary cap and floor and everything like that. But the main reason I think is going to be the deferrals. That's what it's going to stop. That's going to be the work stoppage. It's because if you add a salary cap, then that means you're going to have to defer money. And sometimes you're going to have to defer money for really big name guys for a lot of money. And not every person is like Ohtani. Ohtani was fine taking, $2 million because he just makes so much money on endorsements. But not everybody has that opportunity. Some guys are going to have to, do like what Bryce Harper did. Bryce Harper, He, instead of making what I believe 330 million for 13 years, I believe the original offer was something like 10 for 330, but he wanted to spread it out a little bit more, so they're able to get guys like a Schwarber or Castellanos and stuff like that, so the team could spend money on other guys, and that's supposedly what Otani did. Took the 2 million for, was so they could go get a guy like Yamamoto and build a team around him, because you're not clashing with that what's it called, like, with the tax that they have right now. And so I think for me it's mostly going to be that it's just the insane amount of contracts that are deferred. The Dodgers have a ton of them. I mean, the Diamondbacks have a couple of them. It's not anywhere near as bad as the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have, I believe, also close to $1 billion worth of deferred contracts on the books right now. Obviously, Guggenheim is never going to sell the team, but if they were ever to the at a point where they had to sell the team, nobody's touching that. So why would anybody want to pay $1 billion extra that they never truly signed up for in this case? And that's why a lot of teams don't make large contracts or long contracts, because they think ahead, because they think about, all right, so maybe 7 to 10 years from now we might sell this team. Do we really want to have 6-7 guys who are in their 30s making having to pay out 500, 600, 800, or even close to $1 billion worth of contracts? Like, no one's going to be willing to buy a team like that. But it's just, I think that's going to be the main issue, is just, if you put a salary cap, then you have to also control the deferred money, and that's going to be impossible, because there's going to be guys who are willing to be taking these deferred contracts, and there's guys who aren't. So I think it's going to be a problem either way. And like Brandon said, he doesn't think there's going to be a season. I think there still will be, but if there isn't any season in 27, I wouldn't be surprised, because again, like, a salary cap I think is really important, because it's one of those things where both things can be true. There's the haves and the have-nots, and also there are very much a lot of cheap owners. The Pirates could spend money if they wanted to, they just don't. The Marlins could spend money if they wanted to, they just don't. Tampa could spend money if they wanted to, they just don't. There's just quite a few teams that just don't spend. Boston too. Boston, for the most part, hasn't really spent much money.
Why they traded away Mookie Betts.
They traded Mookie. Not just that, even some of the players that they got this year, not going after certain guys that they could have. I mean, they did spend some money this last offseason, but there's still some money left on the table that they could have spent, and truly not broken the bank, but they just didn't. They could have gone out and gotten some more pitching, a couple of infielders that they needed and stuff. But that is just something that like I said, there are cheap owners. We saw it here with Ken Kendrick not paying guys. But like William Harold was talking about with Scooble, the Pirates again with Paul Skeens. These young guys need to get paid at some point, and I'm not gonna say it's not fair, because obviously sports is not. It's never fair, but that's why guys like Scooble get sent to the Dodgers, or Skeens might get sent to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers will probably be willing to give up literally any prospect they could for Paul Skeens, and they could just sign it for a big contract. And that's kind of the unfortunate side to this. Just, again, there's a lot of cheap owners who are happy just making pretty damn good money, because here's the thing: if the Pirates weren't making money, they would have sold the team. If Tampa wasn't making money, they would have sold the team. Like, there's a lot of these teams that would have been sold a long time ago if they truly weren't making money, but because of revenue sharing, because of ads, because of TV deals, even though they're not as lucrative, but all these teams are making their ownership a lot of money, and just a lot of them aren't investing what they're making.
Yes, there's a funny creator I see on Instagram that I know, Gabe, I've sent you some of them in DMs as a Dodger fan, where it's like the Dodgers ownership are like, who's this Tarek Skubal fellow? What's his contract? Ha ha ha, triplet. I want him in California in an In-N-Out hat with $15 million in 20 minutes. Like, that's basically what they do, because they know they can afford it. But the Tigers ownership, they don't want to pay any money. Like, again, I don't think that it's just 100% the Dodgers' fault. I think the Dodgers are the ones that are like, hey, you know what? We have the opportunities. We're going to abuse the system. Maybe not abuse is the right word, but they're like, hey, there's advantages in the system that we can take because of the money that we have that no other teams are willing to do. And I think they're probably going to. I mean, again, wouldn't be surprised if they trade all their farm system to get Scooble, and then they get him a contract before the lockout comes, because then that way whatever is already in the deal, like, they can't do anything to the deferments that are already there. Like, those contracts are already there. There's nothing that's going to change what's already being paid and what they already have in the future, but it can limit some of that in the limit some of that kind of spending in the future, limit some of those things where it's not just these 5-6 teams that everyone's expecting all these big time free agents to go to, and then we can kind of see a little bit more surprising. Like, it'd be nice to see the Pirates spend a little bit of money. It'd be nice to see the Marlins, these other teams, like even the Rockies. Like, I know the Rockies spent money on Chris Bryant. Like, that was still a baffling decision. So I know some teams can. I mean, that's a great example right there. Like, the Dodgers could have just spent that kind of money on Chris Bryant, and he could have the kind of career he's having right there in Colorado, and they would cut him. They're like, I don't care. Cool. Like, here's your guaranteed money. We don't care. Where the Rockies are like, we can't do that. Like, we're going to make money. We have a good attendance anyway because we're Coors Field, but we're not going to go spend that kind of money because, A, we're not going to go get a pitcher because no pitcher wants to pitch in Coors Field. B, they can't, risk giving up, 150, 200 million and seeing a pitcher or a player, whatever it is, suck. Like, I think there is going to be some kind of a balancing that needs to be taking place there. And, tip the cap to the Dodgers. Again, like I said earlier, they are a well-run organization, but they borderline have bought the last 2 World Series championships, and again, there's nothing wrong with it if you're a fan of the team and if you are like, well, hey, they're just playing with the system that they're given, which I get it, but I do think that it's one of those where it's going to change baseball and the systems that we know it, and I think even if we don't get a salary cap or a salary floor, it's going to make these collective bargaining agreement discussions very interesting, because again, owners don't want to spend money, players want all the money. And I think we're going to see some nasty things come about, and maybe some owners and whatnot taking shots at players, some players taking shots at owners publicly. But thankfully, we at least have another year to kind of avoid those talks and those thoughts, and just worry about the offseason. And one of the big things about the offseason is now that the World Series is officially over, it is time for some award season. Officially, I know there's some that are borderline locks. Obviously, the NL MVP, it's going to be Ohtani. The NL Cy Young, it's going to be Skeens. And then the AL Rookie of the Year, it's going to be obviously Nick Kurtz. Gotta have the time. Gotta have the spacing in there. You can't say the name too fast. So there's a couple awards locked down like those 3, but there are some other ones that are. I think for me personally, the AL MVP is going to be the closest MVP race we've seen in a while. I think whoever wins it, whether it's Judge or Cal, is going to win it by maybe 5 votes or a few more, a few less. I think it's going to be one of the closest we've seen in a long time. The Cy Young in the American League could go to, maybe Scooble or Crochet. I know both of them had some ups and downs. Then especially the NL Rookie of the Year, like that one, it's Cade Horton, Drake Baldwin, or Caleb Durbin. So it wasn't the strongest NL rookie class that we've seen, but there is, Cade Horton's really solid. Drake Baldwin, for a depressing Braves team, he was actually really solid. I think he became their starting catcher around halfway through the season, mostly because of the Sean Murphy injuries. But who do you think is going to be winning most of these awards? Obviously, I know there's some that are locked down, like the MVP and the NL and Skeens, who already had the Cy Young locked up after the All-Star break. But looking at especially, the American League MVP, what are your predictions on some of the awards that have a little bit more question marks surrounding them, and who do you think is going to be taking home those titles?
At least with the AL MVP, it should be Judge, but I think just because of the narrative and with Seattle and everything, I mean, fortunately, writers love a good story, and I think it's a better story that Cal wins it, although I do think it should be Aaron Judge. I do think he was the most valuable player in the American League, but doesn't always work out that way. I mean, he took one away from Ohtani as well, so what goes around comes around eventually. But I mean, he also lost one to Altuve, and he probably should have won that one too. Again, just the storylines, unfortunately. Everything else, I do think it's basically a lockdown, like Cy Young, which that one is a little bit trickier. But I do think it's Scooble again, just because that was the whole narrative the entire season. Crochet was close, but Scooble is probably the best pitcher in baseball, or the second best behind Paul Skeens, so he probably has it. And LMP, Ohtani, I mean, that wasn't even an actual conversation. I am very curious to see the rest of it, like the second, third, fourth, fifth place, if we see any DBacks, because again, I do think Perdomo should be in the top 3, and I just don't think he is just going to be there just because he doesn't have the name recognition. But I am fascinated to see where Corbin, Cattell, and Perdomo land because they were top 10 in the NL in WAR overall. So I'm curious to see that. Rookie of the Year, um, that one I honestly didn't keep track of just because I didn't care about any of these guys or any of these teams these guys were on, so it didn't really matter. And Cy Young, yeah, it's Skeens. Um, if we have, I believe that should just be it. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be any huge surprises except other than that Aaron Judge or Cal Raleigh. Uh, I am curious to see where Chapman ends up in terms of the Cy Young voting as well.
Yeah,
Because I know, writers might not like him, but he was just so incredibly dominant that it's kind of hard not to put him in there somewhere. So if he's in the top three, I wouldn't be surprised, and that would be fascinating though.
muted.
Sorry, yeah, thank
muted.
you. I know Red Sox fans would be ecstatic to see two different Red Sox pitchers, one as a starter, one as a closer, getting MVP or getting Cy Young votes. But yeah, so I think a lot of them are kind of locked down. I think in the NL Rookie of the Year case, I would personally go Drake Baldwin, just because he did play, I would say, the most of the season up there on the MLB level. He had a pretty solid solid season. But I mean, Cade Horton, I could see the case for him. He was a big factor in the Cubs even getting that wild card spot. I think he was hurt for the postseason, but he was one of the more exciting because I did kind of tune into a couple starts here and there. I think he's got some great stuff. But I think you kind of got a great point there. It's going to be interesting to see at least a couple D-backs. I think Perdomo should easily be a top 3 MVP vote getter. I mean, a 7.1 WAR. He should be winning a Silver Slugger for shortstops. He was the best shortstop pretty much by far in both leagues. Not just this year. I know Bobby Witt Jr. I would still give him the edge over Perdomo. But I think this year alone, in just the NL, Domo cleared Trey Turner and even Francisco Lindor, and just what he put up there. I mean, I saw a little bit of a step back in the Gold Glove or in the defense, which we didn't see him win a Gold Glove. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. But I think he should definitely be in if not top 5 or not top 3, easily top 5. I think Skeens surprisingly will be getting some MVP votes. I think he'll be a top 5 MVP vote getter. I mean, I say it at work all the time. If he is on the Dodgers next year or even the Yankees, I think he could be the first pitcher that wins an MVP since Kershaw and Verlander did it in the early 2010s. I think he is the kind of talent to do that thing. But I think a lot of the awards are locked up. But it'll be definitely interesting to see the AL MVP because I do agree with you. I think Judge gets it just because I mean his stats outside of the homers are pretty much better than Cal Raleigh, but. I mean, Cal doing what he did, 60 home runs, switch hitting as a catcher, a more physically demanding position than just being an outfielder who was also kind of more of a DH for a month or so. But again, I think it's going to be the closest MVP race we've seen in a long while. But Brandon,
I'm sorry, but like I know average doesn't say everything, but a 247 or whatever it was winning MVP is.
I mean, Ohtani. I know Ohtani's different because
crazy.
Ohtani's a pitcher too, but Ohtani won it in 21, hitting like 250.
Yeah,
like
but
251. And again,
he did
he's
both.
very different.
He did both.
Exactly. So and that's why I think this is the biggest knock. If he hit more like 270, 275, I think Cal would have been a little bit more of the favorite. But I think, like you said, I think the storyline is what a lot of people are going to look at. But I do agree. I think Judge was the more valuable player because the Mariners could potentially make the playoffs without Kyle Raleigh. They had a stronger lineup where if you take Judge out of that Yankees lineup, I think the Yankees are an 85 win team at best, and they might not even sniff the wild card. But Brandon, passing it on to you, my friend. Looking at the the names obviously in contention to win some of these awards. I know some of them are locked down. Maybe you disagree. Maybe there's some that you think are a little bit sneaky. And then I know some are still some question marks left up in the air. But what are your predictions on who's going to be taking home some hardware and some of these more major awards here once we get these announcements for the next week or so?
Yet again, I completely disagree with both of you on something, and it seems to be happening a lot lately. I think Cal Raleigh is MVP. I think doing what he did as a catcher, being able to have to prepare games too, played 120 games at catcher, and putting up the numbers that he did, I just think, to me, that speaks more, for me personally, that's more value to a team than what I'm not saying that Aaron Judge didn't have fantastic, spectacular season. He also finally, like, I know it's not a postseason award, but he did play pretty well in the postseason. It's just, it sucks because they vote on these the last week of the year. So postseason, like, it's all in our minds recently as to what these guys did in the postseason, but it doesn't really matter. Again, I think either one is completely deserving of it. If I had to vote, my personal choice would have been Cal. I just, putting up those kind of numbers as a catcher is truly amazing. Having to prepare games, call games, being the best catcher.
Yeah, I don't think he had a pass ball all year.
Not until the postseason. He didn't have one until the postseason. So I think that's really impressive. And kind of like you guys said, all the other awards are like, eh. Like, AL Cy Young is the only other one that's really a competition. Everything else is pretty much locked in stone. And kind of like Gabe said about NL Rookie of the Year, who? Like, that's really what it's going to be. Like, unlike last year with Paul Skeens and Jackson Merrill, like, it being a two-person race, this year you're like, and who is it? And do we actually care? So, but we won't find out some of these for a while. Silver Slugger is announced Thursday and Friday. And then Rookie of the Year is announced next Monday. Tuesday is Manager of the Year. Wednesday is Cy Young. And then Thursday is MVP. So we're still going to have to wait a hot minute to find out who's going to win these. I really do hope that Perdomo does get some first place votes. That would be really interesting to see. If I see Lindor finish above Perdomo, I'm going to be very disappointed. Like, he had a 7 WAR. There's only one other player that had a better WAR than he did. That's Shohei Ohtani. And that's because he pitched. So.
And he had fucking 50 plus ding dongs.
It was a great year for Perdomo. So I really hope that he continues to do what he does every year and improve even more. I think the only other area to improve is more power.
Fully agree. And then if he can make sure his defense doesn't take a step back again.
Correct. Yeah, like that was the one thing late in the year that I was like, his defense is kind of sliding here a little bit. So.
I think he had a career high in errors. I know some of them might not be listed as errors if it was a different score, but I mean, I know in our last couple weeks there, even Gabe was bringing it up that like he was just making some mental mistakes that we just don't see from Perdomo too often. So I think that's definitely the one area. Like if you could have one knock on his great season here in 25, would definitely be the defense. But it wasn't like it was, Corey Seager at shortstop level bad where you're like, holy shit, like why are you at shortstop? It was just we're used to seeing. Him put up almost Nick Ahmed kind of numbers at shortstop.
We needed him to play every day. That was
exactly.
The thing. Like we needed.
And he's playing hurt.
Shortstop. Yeah, and if Torrey tried to take him out, he wouldn't let him. He'd be like, "No, sir, I'm playing today."
Basically, what Mad Max was doing to Schneider in the playoffs there, where he's like, you fucking leave me in here, you're not taking me out. But I do think that the one award, I know it's a lock in, but if you guys haven't done it, go look up Nick Kurtz's numbers this year and just what he did. Disgusting. Like it's genuinely disgusting. And he didn't even play a full season. I think he had like 35 plus home runs.
Wasn't he drafted last year? And
he was drafted last year, yeah. And I'm glad I pulled this one out of a pack. So I'm gonna get this bad boy graded soon. But yeah, say the dude is disgusting, and I can't wait to see him get traded to the Dodgers or the Braves or the Yankees, the Mets, whatever it is, because the A's are just the minor league system for every other fucking team in the league. But it'll at least be nice to see him hit some taters in Sacramento before he's traded to an actual organization that plays in a real MLB ballpark. But before we move on into our next topic, because on our next topic we are going to talk about the awards that were announced tonight. Obviously, the Gold Glove winners. I did want to obviously bring up some of the YouTube comments here from our friends chilling in the chat. I know William, when we were talking about the lockout, he was saying that banana ball is going to be huge in 2027, and that's as long as people don't keep hating on it. It's generally a fun, entertaining thing to go watch, and I'm excited to see more of it. And honestly, in the future, Macy's saying, do we think eventually the Dodgers will have too much in deferments? Kind of like what Gabe was saying earlier. I think just because of their owners being Guggenheim, I don't think any deferment is too much for them personally. Like unless they're going to sell the team. But even like Gabe mentioned, I don't think they're ever going to. So I think if another team did it, then yes. But because of them, there's no shot they do. Williams also saying that Scuba would be top 3 for MVP if the Tigers didn't collapse, and that's actually a great point. If the Tigers didn't go on that, blowing a 15-game lead, I know it's not fully Scuba's fault. Like the rest of the Tigers kind of just shit the bed, and he was the only one that was at least playing decently well. But it wasn't for that, he would probably be getting, he would be number 3 behind Cal and Judge. And then one more from Macy asking, anybody else looking for the WBC? 100%. I'm very excited for the WBC. It's always a fun time. I don't think Chase Field is going to be hosting any this year, unfortunately, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I'm excited just to see like who actually commits
To what
for the
team?
WBC. Yeah, so very excited to see that, and I'm excited to see also like if any of the guys like Perdomo or someone like that. I'm curious to see if the DBacks would also. I believe Judge declared that he was going to be in the WBC this year as well.
Cal did. Witt is in it for the U.S. So
yeah, so I'm very
Isn't
curious
Doma
to
playing
see
for
it.
Taiwan? Or not Doma, Corbin? But he's playing for...
I mean, he's eligible, but I don't know if he is or not.
Okay. It'd be fun to see him there.
Marte will
also be-
probably play for the DR. Dude, the DR roster is disgusting.
They're so disgusting every year. They just can't get over the hurdle. But Japan also.
I mean, it's how it was for the U.S. The first, I think, 2 WBCs, 3.
Yeah.
Like they didn't do much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also excited for Japan too. I mean, they have Yamamoto, Otani, Sasaki as well.
Murakami.
So they have a lot. Most of these big teams have like a really stacked roster, and Venezuela does. So very, very curious to see what they do with that.
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic is also the real World Series too. It's because it's the actual matchup of like teams across the world, not just the North American MLB league where they title it the World Series. So we get the actual World Series coming up, and hopefully more pitchers decide to join Team USA because again I love him. But Merrill Kelly starting for that big game for USA versus Japan was like, yeah, maybe if we had any of the other American pitchers. Like now, could you imagine fucking Paul Skeens?
I think Skeens said that he's playing. So
that just right because the dude went to the Navy. It wasn't for baseball. He would have been a fighter or a pilot and in the Navy and all that. So the dude's just American as hell. He is gonna go up there. I mean, that'll be a fun matchup to see Skeens against Otani in the World Baseball Classic. Maybe in like hopefully the gold medal game or like the final game.
You mean
that'd be
like
fun.
how we got Trout versus Otani?
Yeah, I'm buying every one of those fucking Tops Now cards. I've learned my lesson. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm definitely excited for the WBC. But because we just talked about some awards, we did actually because we were gonna do some predictions, but then I looked it up and it was like, oh yeah, no, they actually announced the official award winners tonight for the Gold Glove. So going through both leagues, pitcher side, Max Fried of the Yankees and then Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants won the Gold Glove for pitchers. For catcher, Dylan Dingler, great baseball name, love it. And then Patrick Bailey, they both took home the Gold Glove behind the dish. Then you had...
I want to see what his numbers look like next season with ABS. How much of a drop-off is he going to have?
Yeah, because he also took a little bit of a hit because he wasn't throwing runners out at the same rate that he was the year before, or even in 23 when Gabby took it from him. First base, we had Ty France and then Matt Olson. Not surprised the Braves, I know they're missing Freddie, but they at least, if you're going to replace Freddie with anybody, they've kind of, hit a home run on Matt Olson signing. Second base, Marcus Semien and then Nico Horner. Cubs had 3 different Gold Gloves, surprisingly. Third base, you had Maikel Garcia of the Royals and then Key Brian Hayes, a former Platinum Glove winner, one of the best third basemen in baseball. He basically hits like Nick Ahmed, probably worse. Shortstop, we had Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals and then Mason Wynn. Mason Wynn won his first Gold Glove in his career. Don't ask Justin Turner about it because he'll just say, who cares how hard you can throw to first. In center fielder, I don't think there's any surprise for both of these. Sedane Rafaela won in the American League. I mean, I saw one of the best catches ever when the Red Sox were here in town. So the dude was a stud. And then also Pussy Cuck Ass Armstrong He did take home the Gold Glove for the NL in center field, and then right field, Wilson Abreu, an absolute cannon for the God. Who was he
Red
play
Sox.
for? Red Sox, thank you. Yeah, Wilson Abreu for the Red Sox, and then Tatis Jr. So the D-backs 2 Gold Glove finalists, Perdomo and Corbin Carroll, both come up short, but I think we kind of all expected that. And then the utility position, which I believe has only been around since like 2020, 2021, Mauricio Dubon and then Javier Sanoja were the ones that took that home. So looking at the Gold Glove winners, were there any surprises to you guys? Were any ones, were there some names where you're like, yeah, like I wasn't expecting that. Like for me personally, Michael Garcia, I think just because he plays in the American League and the Royals, they didn't have the greatest season, but I know he was one of their few bright spots. Like I mean, hitting wise, he was really good, and then obviously now seeing winning a Gold Glove, he was defensively really good. So for me, that's a name that I wasn't expecting to see. But looking at the list, were there any surprises or any names that you're like, yeah, duh, that doesn't surprise me in the least?
Probably just Semyon. He's probably the only one who stands out to me because it's one of those where I'm like, oh, he played this year. Like he was so non-existent as a player in general, and I mean for the most part since he's been in Texas, he's been, you know, not I'm not gonna say important, but he hasn't been as big as he was before that. Whether it was Oakland or was it Toronto? Is that who he was with
Yep.
before? He was a bigger star, I think, in those places. He played better at second base. He was also a really good hitter, and since I know it's not a hitting award, but when the guy can't hit too well or isn't on the field for too long, and seeing his name up there, I'm just like, oh, I honestly didn't even realize he played most of the season long enough to actually get the award. So I'm curious. I'm confused about seeing him there, but I mean, I'm sure he has the numbers for it. Everyone else, I think it's kind of, again, just like some of the other awards, kind of just like, yeah, that makes sense. Tatis has a cannon for an arm, and I mean, he makes some errors, I think, but overall, he is probably the best right fielder in the game right now, just at least defensively. So it would be really hard to knock him down. Like Corbin would have to make zero errors and just look like PCA out there in order for him to win an award like that. But yeah, no real surprises.
Yeah, same. I think the Tatis one. I mean, crazy to see him transition from being a really good shortstop. Which I mean, I say that, but he had some errors at shortstop. But then they put him in the outfield, which I know a lot of people were like, "LMAO, you're gonna take, you're gonna sign Xander or put somebody else at shortstop and then move him to the outfield." But dude's been insane. I mean, a couple home run robberies, like you said, he has a can of an arm. He's just really exciting to watch out there, and I hate to say it, but yeah, say if there's any right fielder that or any outfielder that I was expecting to win it, it was definitely him and PCA. I'm not surprised by those two at all. But Brandon, passing on to you, were there kind of same thing, maybe in the same boat as Semyon, because I would agree too. Semyon's not a name I was expecting, just because don't the Rangers kind of had another season like us where it was subpar, so you don't see a lot of the names. But I know you watch more baseball, or you watch some other games too, obviously, and all that. So any of the names that were surprises to you, or any names that you were like, yeah, duh, like of course they were gonna win it. I could have called that back in August.
Makes me wonder how bad are first basemen in the American League if Ty France, who was on 2 different teams this year, I think he got DFA'd by one of them, is your Gold Glove winner at first base. Like that one to me is like, how bad is first base in the American League? So I saw some people saying that Tatis robbed Corbin of the Gold Glove. Guys, I love Corbin. Go watch Tatis play defense. He covers, like, he is amazing defensively. Makes some insane robberies, and sometimes he doesn't always take the right path to the ball. But when you're that fast, when you're that athletic, you can make up for it. That's it's just amazing. And then, like you said, has a cannon for an arm. And I think his arm strength works better in right field than it does at shortstop because he has more room for error. Like shortstop, that cannon sometimes, like Mason Wynn too, sometimes tries to make throws that he probably shouldn't because of his arm strength. So I'm very curious who's going to win the Platinum, which is fan voted, by the way, which...
There's no bias. Fan voting always works perfectly. I mean, look at the All-Star game.
So I'm just impressed that Corbin was a finalist. The improvement that he made defensively from last season to this season was just amazing. Like, he didn't get strong. His arm didn't get stronger. They were able to improve how quickly he releases the ball. And I think Dave McKay is just a genius. Like, literally the best outfield coach in Major League Baseball. Can turn anyone into a Gold Glove caliber player. So, I mean, he did it to Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Go ask Blue Jay fans how he looked defensively for them.
There's a reason why they traded him for Dalton Varsho.
Who, interesting enough, Dalton didn't win it. Didn't win a Gold Glove this year because Rafaela is
that good.
Like you said, that game where he made that play and then Blaze was like, "Hold my beer, watch me do this." That's why I don't want Blaze at third base. I think he's too athletic to not be in the outfield.
I mean, it'll be fun to see either one of them will be in the outfield, whether him or Jordan Lawler. So I would rather have our stud, young shortstop prospect stay at least in the infield. But as long as he gets playing time, whatever they decide at the end of the day.
At this point, yes, just let him play is all I want at this point.
Seriously, but yeah, there's definitely disappointing not seeing obviously Corbin or Perdomo win it. But was it surprising? No, not at all. For obviously multiple reasons that we all kind of brought up there, but I'm glad they do the Gold Glove awards first because again they're really cool. It's nice to obviously like even when Gabby won his when we had in 23 where a couple guys took one home. It's nice when your player wins it, but it's probably the most boring award because you're like, who cares? Like fielding is cool, but the Silver Slugger and the the MVP, Rookie of the Year, things like that are the awards that even the Silver Slugger is probably right there with the Gold Glove where it's like, like who cares? But people like offense, home runs are sexy, and we'll see probably, hopefully, Perdomo take one. At least we'll see some hardware hopefully for the D-backs in this offseason. Obviously won't be any MVPs, but fingers crossed for the Silver Slugger, which, like Brandon said earlier, we should hopefully see the official announcement of that in the next week or so. But moving on to some more D-backs centralized discussion here. Now that obviously the World Series is over, and today did mark the official start of free agency in the MLB, and we get to see some moves officially get to be made. There's some glaring issues, obviously starting pitching, bullpen, and then some first base questions that we've talked about before and all that. But I guess my question to you, obviously everyone else listening as well, whether you're listening to us after the fact and you want to hop in the Discord and let us know your thoughts, or if you're in the live with us right now, I'd love to hear you guys what you think. What are a few potential trades or even some free agency signings that you predict Hayes and company make? Obviously, there's the fun ones like, Pete Alonso, yeah, will that actually happen? No. Like, what are some realistic options you think that the team could go and some routes they could go through? Like for me, I think something realistic. Devin Williams. I would love Devin Williams. And I know even on our last show with Brandon, I would love to see Paul Goldschmidt because if we're going to fucking stick with Pavin Smith as a platoon, I would at least rather have Goldie back here, one for the reunion. Yes, I don't care. I'm hooked on nostalgia easily. And then two would be nice. I mean, Goldie can still hit lefties really, really well. Righties obviously doesn't hit at all, but lefties he can still hit really well. So I'd love to see those two moves happen for me personally. But I'm curious what you guys would go for if you could obviously, Freaky Friday switch into Mike Hazen and again to make reasonable moves. Again, Pete Alonso is going to be out of our market. We're not going to be trading for Tarek Skubal. But what would you do if you were Mike Hazen going into this offseason, seeing the holes that we need to fill going into 2026?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're actually going to prioritize because they've talked about cutting back on spending and they're gonna have to spend money as it is. Like Macy Dixon is saying, Merrill Kelly, he seems to be the one that is coming back, but again, you can never have too much starting pitching. And Corbin Burns, at best, won't be joining until some midway point through the season, where it's either June, July, or even August, or even September. Might be the time he actually joins this team. And they got other spots to fill, specifically with Zach Gallen, because Zach Gallen almost for sure is gone. So they have two main starting pitchers that they got to replace, and they also need somebody to have waiting in the wings because as of right now, the development in the minor leagues isn't the best right now. A lot of guys took a lot of step back. So it just depends on how things go for these guys. Maybe we might see somebody come out of spring training. Maybe Christian Mana looks a lot better. It's like it kind of just depends on how guys develop. Same with Yumin Lin. We kind of just have to wait and see what happens there. For me, I'd rather if they get a pitcher, sign him as quick as you can because we don't want another Erod situation or Montgomery or signing guys way too late to where you can't they can't practice with the team. The bullpen, like I said, Devin Williams seems like the most likely candidate. It just depends if they want to pay him. But he did have a bad enough season, which honestly wasn't even terrible. But he did have a bad enough season that I feel like this team could get him. Not cheap, but not giving him $45 million or something like that.
Yeah, not
And
Tanner Scott money, but reasonable money.
yeah. Then at first base, I think it's the same thing. Paul Goldschmidt, he should be signing with this team. They should go after him, pretty aggressively because again, I don't want to see a platoon of Tyler Locklear and Pavin Smith. Like if somebody's going to be there as a platoon, I want to see Goldie at least. Again, like not just nostalgia, but he does still crush left-handed pitching. There's a lot of left-handers that this team has faced, and this team needs to get better against left-handed pitchers. So Goldie, I think, would be a good option there. In terms of trades and stuff like that, I can see one or both Alec and Jake being traded. Jake doesn't have truly any real value right now, so it kind of just depends if they're willing to pick up his contract or not because he arbitration eligible. Well, that also means the team can drop him if they want to, make him a free agent. So it kind of just depends on what they decide to do, how Lawler looks in center field. If Lawler looks incredible in center field, then I do think they're probably going to move on from Jake and have Alec on left or even in center and have, any combination of Lawler, Alec, and Corbin out there. But, yeah, in terms of starting pitchers again, like there's a lot of big names kind of off the board, but I don't think this team's going to be willing to spend that much money, especially with, what we've seen from, what happened with Corbin Burns.
Yes, I think that I wouldn't be upset with bringing back Merrill Kelly. I feel like he's the more, affordable option. Even if it's not Merrill Kelly, I can see maybe going for Michael Lorenzen. There's definitely some pitchers on the market where we're gonna need some bodies no matter what. To where I don't think we're gonna spend a lot of money, but could at least bring back some serviceable 3.5 ERA guys that can at least eat 150 to 175 innings. And at least provide us a little bit of length. But I think the biggest focus should be obviously bullpen, and then obviously cannot handle Locklear and Pavin Smith. I know Locklear is going to be missing some time, so he won't even be ready by opening day. But I would love to see Goldschmidt come back, obviously, not just for the reunion, but like you said, Gabe, he still hits lefties really, really well. And I think the reunion would be nice to see and hopefully have his career be sent off to the sunset in the team that he should never have left and the team that he should be going into Cooperstown with. But, I digress, and that's the whole nother conversation for another day. But, yeah, even if they don't go for Williams, maybe even another guy that I know after the deadline wasn't looking the best, but maybe they can get him at a deal, Ryan Helsley. At least he throws fire. Like, throws 100+ to where I know Devin Williams' changeup is a little bit more of a crafty, but it's not like Devin Williams throws like 91. He still throws pretty hard, but I think bullpen would definitely be the biggest mark that I'd go for. So I'd love either Williams or Helsley. Who knows, maybe both of them. But can't get too too greedy, especially knowing that they're not going to be spending as much as we're not they're not going to be spending as much as they have in the last couple years. So got to pick and choose where to spend the money, and those would definitely be the areas that I would go for, especially because going back to Goldie, it won't be super expensive. It's not going to be the $15-20 million. I think it'll be, maybe 15 million, probably closer to like 7 to 15 in that range, but. Obviously, we'll have to see if he even wants to come back. But Brandon, passing it on to you, same situation. If you could, Freaky Friday situation, swap into Mike Hazen's body, and you could make some reasonable, trades or free agent signings. What are some predictions that you have, or at least what would you make move-wise to help improve this roster going into 2026?
I think Goldie is like a really good chance that they sign Goldie. Gamba was pretty much confirmed that is a very real possibility that they re-sign him, come back, and I think it'd be a great platoon with Pavin Smith. I think that would work out great. I may have to ask my friend back for my goalie jersey back because I let her have that when when he got traded. I was like, "Can you send that back, please? I'd like that back." Or I could just probably buy another one. They probably
Fake fan. I'm just kidding.
Fake fan? No. Okay. But
It's the Padre in you, you know. I'm just joking.
so here's some things that I would like to see them do: trade for 2 starting pitchers, and the 2 that I want them to go after: Edward Cabrera from the Marlins and Freddie Peralta. I think those are 2 viable options to go and trade for. And signing, I'd go after Robert Suarez from the Padres. So, because we need a closer. We need a closer because we're not going to have J-Mart probably all of next year. And Puck is probably around the same time as Burns. So, July, August. So, they need to basically redo the entire bullpen. So, and I know Hazen loves to do those veteran 1-year deals, but can you just please pony up the cash and go get an actual solid bullpen? Like, I need guys back there where I'm not watching with my eyes closed, because that's what I did a good portion of the year. Is I was
Paul
like,
Sewald
great.
reunion it is, champ.
Yeah, can we not do that, please? Yeah. Also, another one I would like them to see do, but I don't think so because his market value is ridiculous, and that's Michael King. Michael King opted out, I think, yesterday, but his market value is $33 million a year, so that's gonna be a no for me.
Yeah, then fuck no. I'd rather than split that money up and go to a bullpen arm and a cheaper starter.
I was thinking also Edwin Diaz. He also opted out, but I don't know how I feel about that one. Like, that one is a more of a.
You literally said you don't want to close your eyes when you go have your closer come in. That's pretty much what all Mets
But
did.
I love his entrance music. I love his
That's
entrance music. It is pretty freaking cool. Also, maybe Patrick Corbin is a free agent too.
Oh God, no.
If we really want to go like full nostalgia, just bringing everybody back, there's that. He actually pitched pretty well for Texas last year, though. Like, he wasn't that awful. Like, it would be on par with the rest of our rotation, which is a bunch of 4s and 5s. Because that's what, outside of Burns, that's really what our starting rotation is. Like, I think Nelson is a solid 3. If they re-sign Patrick Corbin, I'm naming my fantasy team all the Corbins. I am definitely going to do that next year. But, yeah, they need to do something at first base, though. First base is, like, we can't run it back with Locklear and Peyton Smith. Literally the same guy, just on different sides of the plate. So, and I've seen a lot of people like, why don't we go after Frambo Valdez? That's a big no for me. That is a massive no. After what he did to his catcher, crossed him up on purpose, like that rubbed me the wrong way. Pause.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about realistic players, James McCann, he needs to be re-signed because as of right now, there's no backup for Gabby right now.
Welcome back to Jose Herrera. That's probably what we're gonna get.
Yeah, more expensive. More expensive Jose Herrera.
Preparing myself mentally for it, and then if it doesn't happen, then cool, we're finally free. But
also, yes, Valdez is a soft tossing left. That hasn't worked out. Every time we sign a soft tossing left-handed free agent starting pitching, it blows up in our face.
Every time. Doesn't matter who we go to. Just no more lefties. If you're gonna sign a lefty, just fucking swing your dick for the fences.
Sale is a free agent. Just saying.
I wouldn't hate that, honestly. It's just one of those where is he going to be too expensive?
Yeah, that's the only problem.
I wouldn't hate it though, because then we don't have to fucking face him. Because my God, it seems like every time we face Chris Sale,
the first signing should be like Gabe said, James McCann. Which I think it's a week you have to sign free agents. You can make trades now, but I believe it's a week from, or it's either 5 or 7 days after the World Series that you can technically start signing players. So I want them to decide, are we doing a full rebuild Are we doing what we always do? We do half in,
Retooling
half
or
out.
retooling, Brandon. That's the D-backs moniker. Is it's never a rebuild, even if it's a rebuild. It's
Yeah,
retooling.
I know. I don't like it. But I also like your idea of Devin Williams. Like, he's going to be on the cheap. Like, go get him.
And again, even like Gabe says all the time, the back of the baseball card doesn't lie. One year that his numbers kind of skewed a little bit because of a really rough first month and a half in New York. But I mean, he got his numbers down from like a 12 ERA down to the 3.75 to 4 whatever it is. So he really turned it around there. And again, the back of the baseball card doesn't lie. He is a really consistent pitcher, and I think that again, just the pressure of pitching in New York and whatnot. Again, not everyone's cut out to be in New York. And even Randy Johnson, when he became a Yankee, he wasn't the Randy Johnson that he was in here, Houston, or even Seattle. So, not everyone's meant to be a Yankee. So maybe the universe is trying to throw us a bone there. It's like, hey, we had him turn into 2023 World Series Paul Sewald, or sorry, I guess 2024 Paul Sewald would be more accurate, just with how much he gave up there, just to kind of help out the numbers and whatnot. But you know. You wouldn't have to twist my arm or dislocate it like what happened to Jaden Daniels. My goodness, to sign Devin Williams. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, because you guys probably saw my reaction. I looked at my phone for a second and saw a tweet, and they were down like 31, and they ran a ball with him still in the game, and he dislocated his arm when he was going down to the ground. Like, oh God. So in my case, you guys know
Another former D-back they could go after, by the way, Luke Weaver.
I wouldn't hate it either. He had a really solid season with
I
the
think that
Yankees.
one wouldn't cost much. I don't think that would cost much.
Get both of them. Fuck it. Just get both. Get both of them. But any other things you guys wanted to touch on here? I know it's been a minute since obviously all three of us were together. We're trying to get more consistent. Just a lot of our schedules have been crazy. Obviously, Gabe traveling. My work schedule is a fucking nightmare. And obviously, trying to balance the dad life too. I'm not available as much as I was before, but we're trying to get a little more consistent, do at least one show a week for you guys. But anything else that you two gentlemen wanted to touch on here before we kind of get on out of here?
No, just everyone be prepared. The off season is very long.
Yeah.
We could not get any news about anything till at
Maybe
least the winter
January.
meetings, which is... Well, we have the GM winter meetings, which is...
Yeah, but we don't usually ever see the D-backs actually do anything there. They wait until like the new year.
So
That's when they have all their conversations.
Till like it's entirely possible that they don't make a single move until February, which I hope not. So just it could be a while before we get any actual news on any sort of transactions.
Yeah, sadly, but hopefully we at least get something fun to talk about. Especially on our next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about the AZ Fall League that's happening right now. We would have done it tonight, but we're already like an hour 17 in, and I know it's late now on a Sunday night, so we don't want to take up more of your guys' time or be on here for a 2-hour show. But we'll definitely touch base a little bit more on the AZ Fall League because there is some more D-backs players, or there's a good handful of D-backs players that are playing in there. Some that are doing pretty solid, some that are doing not so solid. So we'll definitely talk about a little bit more there. Probably next week when we have a little bit more of a sample size too. But again, appreciate all you guys tuning on in here for another fun episode.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea, Macy Dixon.
Honestly, that was a really fun episode. I did really enjoy that episode, especially because we could get some great polls, like from my bench. Pulled a guy like Agi Ojeda, maybe Gerardo Parra. Pull out a fun one that like wouldn't really fit too well, but just because I see it like the Sleeper Dimebacks, I know they have a tweet where it's like, oh, name like a forgotten D-back, where it's like, oh, Ruby De La Rosa. No, my pick all the time is either Agi Ojeda or Trent Oltgen. There's a name some of you guys are probably like, holy shit, I completely fucking forgot about that guy. Yeah, not more known as a Dodger, but man, I remember his debut in the season. I think it was the 08, maybe 09 season when we were pretty dog shit. Was a fun one, but yeah, that's honestly it may seem not a due to the worst D-backs draft. Oh man, I'll sign Russ Ortiz going 1-1 overall, or maybe even Mad Bum going 1-1 overall would be the first pick on everybody's board. But yeah, so definitely this is the reason why, again, guys, join the Discord, because that'll be once we get kind of more in the offseason and we need more fun topics to discuss, these will be some great ideas to throw our way that we can kind of, rattle on back and forth. Yeah, I did mean to use rattle on, so there's a dumb DBacks pun for you. That we can kind of rattle back and forth and whatnot. So again, make sure you guys join in the Discord there. Follow us on all socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you guys also check out all the written content over on SB Nation. Like I said, Jim, the head of the AZ Snake Pit over there, did put out a great article. Even Brandon Gabe, I don't know if I said in the group chat, I would highly recommend going and giving it a listen, giving it a read, because this is a great article. There's a lot to it. And I think he makes a lot of great points. Some points that maybe some might disagree with, because that's everybody. Not everyone's going to agree with any writing, but him, every other writer on the Snake Pit staff do a lot of great content. Especially our man Josh, who does. His last article over our last episode was one of the best ones he's ever put out. So make sure you guys go check that one out as well, because Josh does a lot of great work with writing, especially with the busy schedule that he has. So make sure you guys show his work some love. But in the meantime, we appreciate you guys all coming through for another fun episode here, especially on your Sunday nights, staying in these later hours. So make sure you guys tune on in the next episode. Again, great time to join the Discord, because we let you guys know there first whenever we're going live. But in the meantime, we'll catch you guys later. You have a great rest of your Sunday and a great start to you guys' week. Peace out.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brennan Gabe on the call with Josh in the back.